Hi guys, this is Dr. Sadasivam with you once again. We are all aware that the second wave of COVID has put a lot of pressure not just on government but on individuals, on families, and it has thrown the complete life out of gear. But unlike the last lockdown, which was implemented at a pan-India level, this time the lockdowns are very localized, but all said and done, we have suffered quite a lot and we have suffered the worst effect of COVID. The health infrastructure is crumbling. What is different from the last COVID is whatever death during the last COVID was through the newspaper, but this time, unfortunately, at least in my case, the second wave, lots and lots of friends whom we know, people in the building, our relatives, etc., etc., our own known people, they have all succumbed to this deadly disease. Infrastructure is far stretched. There is no doubt the whole life is thrown out of gear, and at this point in time, introspection and a dispassionate analysis is required. Some IIT Kanpur guys have come out with a kind of a forecasting model. But as far as forecasting models are concerned, they are not just a necessity, but also we need to keep in mind that not all predictions are 100% true. In fact, they put in a lot of work, they have burned the midnight oil, they did a lot of research in terms of computations, etc., etc. But some of their calculations have gone awry. In fact, it was Professor Agarwal who headed this whole project, and they did everything with the best of the best intentions, but certain things had been missed out, and we will talk about what those are. We are not involving any kind of a blame game, but just that we have to do a kind of dispassionate analysis in terms of what has gone wrong, and then we need to learn those lessons, and to whatever extent possible we need to look at ways and means how we can incorporate these learnings into our future strategies and move ahead. If you talk about these forecasting models, what they do is they will provide some kind of a directional guidance, but wisdom and experience need to be incorporated. This wisdom and experience comes from health professionals, from entomologists. What is data? Data is nothing but set of numbers, right? Certain regressions, etc., etc., and approximately figuring out what will happen. I'm not belittling that, because most modelers, what they do is they structure the COVID behavior through various equations, and within the equations they calculate the value of those parameters which govern these equations, and use these set of numbers in various other equations to compute the trajectory that the COVID will take. This particular case of IIT students, they came with SUTRA Model, acronym for, it talks about susceptibility, people who are susceptibly undetected, tested positive, and then removed approach. Susceptible, the words are self-explanatory. Who is susceptible to the disease? There are people who are affected because this is people who have been tested positive, people who are asymptomatic, and people who have been cured. There is nothing wrong in this approach, but the methodology, the manner in which the analysis was done, of course they did it with the best of the best intentions, but there have been certain feedbacks in terms of shortcomings. They were overcoming. The second wave is not going to be as severe as the first wave, and there will be approximately, they will peak in the month of April, after that they will come down, etc., etc. I think these were some, but unfortunately things turned out to be different. Not very different, but slightly different, right? In the words of Agarwal himself, he says that the intensity is very difficult to calculate. You can, the whole mathematical model can calculate the timing, but not the height or the severity, right? Because the important factor here is the population that is currently immune to it, which is very difficult to get that factor, right? Otherwise, it plays a very important role in that equation. It is not a question of finding fault with who is right and who is wrong, or excuses why this didn't turn out, because everything is done in climate of uncertainty. But What is important is learning the right lessons and then using them in the future strategies. Agarwal gives this example of Mumbai. 58% in slums, they had already acquired antibodies in their body because of herd immunity. If you look at the high-rise buildings, 18%, only they could develop, 18% developed antibodies. As a result of that, 90% of the people infected in Bombay, they were all from high-rise buildings. So the smaller the immune population, the higher the incentive, higher probability of the higher wave. This is what they are doing. They have given certain recommendations in terms of zero surveys to be done at the state level and then the district level and the panchayat level. Of course, they are all will keep continuing. The local administration will take care of that. Something unexpected, because any mathematic modeling can help only to a certain extent, but what is going to be of use is people who work on the field at the grassroots levels, your entomologists, virologists, your hospital staff, R&D guys who work with viruses day in and day out. They live with these viruses literally day by day, looking through the microscope, right? But at the same time, every one of us should put our shoulders to the wheel and look in terms of how we can overcome this crisis jointly as a team, rather than finding blame games. He was wrong, etc. If you look at the WhatsApp every day, the whole thing is centered around blame games. Who is wrong? The Prime Minister is wrong, the central government is wrong, etc. etc. I think we need to introspect in terms of what is the value we can add as individuals to the whole process. The simplest thing is to wear the mask when we move out. People don't do that. The simplest that an individual can do is to maintain social distancing, which we don't do that. We go to parks, we don't maintain that. I still see people grouping together and they are not doing that, but they are the ones who will type WhatsApp messages in terms of what the government should do, what the state government should do, what the World Health Organization should do. People are very good at suggestions, but we need to look in terms of what we are doing as an individual, how we are adding value to the whole ecosystem, whole equation. That is what is extremely important. I'll just give you a small joke, nothing connected with this COVID vaccination, but one of my friends, I have one of my friends who used to give so many suggestions in terms of what India should do to improve its relationship with China, how it should balance its relationship with France, China, Taiwan, your US, etc. etc. I used to give a lot of suggestions. But let me tell you one thing. He has a neighbor and he has a very serious parking problem with his neighbor, right? This guy is not able to handle one neighbor, but this guy is the one who will give suggestions in terms of how a 1.3 billion population country should deal with another country which has a population of 1.5. It happens. We are not perfect people. We also do such mistakes all the time. Okay guys, thank you very much. This is Dr. Sadasivam signing off. Till we meet again. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.
உடல் சுருங்கி விரிந்தால் கீழ் மூச்சு